Ahoy, Let's Watchers! It's me, your valiant Captain Vasco. Are you ready for some football? Well, I hope not, because we're still playing Magic the Gathering. Where did you even get that idea? Was it Steve? Steve. Anyway, today we're going to continue our gradual easement into the learning of Duels of the Planeswalkers with some of these air quotes challenges. The first few of which are designed to really just highlight some of the game's basic mechanics, like Trample. Trample is an ability which says that if your attacking creature has more power than the toughness of all the creatures blocking it, then you are able to deal the excess as damage to the opposing player. So in this scenario highlighted on the screen now is a 5-powered creature attacking into a 2-toughness creature, which means that you are able to do the difference, 3 damage, directly to your opponent. Also, I'm not sure I mentioned, you are able to block with any number of your creatures against your opponent's creatures, so long as they can actually block. There are some abilities which make it so other creatures cannot block them. We'll get to one of those briefly. Okay. So, here's the situation. He is attacking me with this 5-power, 3-toughness trample creature. He has 2 life. I also have 2 life. So if I don't block at least 4 of this creature's damage, then he will trample over and kill me. I have 3 creatures. 1/1 creature with flying. Flying is one of those abilities I just mentioned that make it so an opposing creature cannot block them. Creatures with flying can only be blocked by creatures who have flying or who have reach. Reach lets you block as though you have flying, but creatures with reach can still be blocked normally. So we have this guy, 2/1 flyer. Got our old friend the bear. He's a 2/2. And here is Barony Vampire, who is a 3/2. Well, these 2 guys together have 4 toughness, which will allow me to survive this attack. He'll deal 2 damage to each of them, and have 1 damage left over to trample over to me. So I will go to 1 life. In return, though, since he played no creatures, I'm going to attack him with my 2-power guy, and straight up kill him. Hooray! Victory is mine! Yeah. Can you see why I put air quotes play over the, these first couple of, like, challenges, which are, like, meant to be puzzles that are difficult to solve? The later ones can actually get quite tricky, but these first, I think it's like 4 of them, are all pretty silly. Okay. So, activated abilities. They're abilities that creatures have. Well, creatures, various permanents, anything that stays in play. So, things like enchantments, artifacts, creatures. There's also a card type called Planeswalker, which isn't actually in this game at all. They get pretty complicated, so I'm not going to get into them, I don't think, at all. But activated abilities are essentially like repeatable abilities. They usually either require you to pay some type of mana, or to tap the creature, or maybe like sacrifice something, or discard a card, and then they give you some crazy effect. And here we go. This is talking about flying again. As it demonstrates here, creature on the left is just a 3/3 with no abilities, so he can't block a flying 1/2. However, a flying 1/2 can also block a flying 1/2, as can a 2/4 creature with reach. I guess the reach symbol is a bow and arrow. Alright. So to demonstrate, here we have 2 3/3 creatures with defender, which means they can't attack. And I have 2 copies of this Furnace Whelp, which is a 2/2 flying, that also has an ability which allows me to pay red mana to give it an additional toughness for 1 turn. Well, seeing as I have 1 life, I would like not to die, and I will block with the 1 eligible creature. Since these defenders do not have reach or flying, they cannot block. and the other flying creature I have is tapped, so he cannot block. Creature must be untapped to block, but blocking does not cause a creature to tap. Sometimes new players get confused with that. Alright, so I blocked this 1-2. OMFG totally dies. By totally dies, I mean his 1-2 totally dies to my 2-2. Alright, now I have a bunch of red mana available, and 2 creatures who can attack. My opponent's at 6. I'm gonna try and kill him this turn. Or her, I guess. This is Kiora Tui or whatever. Alright, so here's the case now. He has 2/4 reach creature. I have a blocked 2/2 flyer, which, since I can't do anything about its toughness, is clearly going to die to this fighter no matter what I try to do. However, I also have an unblocked flying creature. He also, as I mentioned, has an ability which allows me to increase his toughness for 1 red mana. However, there's no limit on how many times I can use this ability this turn, because it doesn't tell me that there is. There are some things you can assume about an activated ability unless told otherwise. They can be activated at any time, essentially instant speed, which is any time you could play an instant spell. And they can be activated any number of times. So I'm going to pay 5 red mana to give him 5 additional power, making him a 7/2, and allowing me to totally kill my opponent this turn. Hooray! One another obviously established for me to win competition. Hooray! Please let me know in the comments if you think that these have been helpful and informative. Obviously, players who have already played the game are not going to find this such, so feel free to berate me for that, I guess. I'm actually going to skip ahead. There's 2 challenges left. There's... maybe it's 3? I don't know. I'm going to skip ahead to Lust for Blood, because I think this one needs to be done before one of the others in logical teaching order. So, click. Okay, Death Touch. Death Touch is an ability that says if your creature deals any damage to an opposing creature, that creature will die. Even if you wouldn't normally be able to. So in this scenario, on this loading screen, the creature on the bottom is a 1/3 creature with Death Touch, meaning it only has 1 power and usually couldn't kill another creature, unless it was very weak. And if a 2/2 creature attacks into it, even though it has 2 toughness, which is more than 1 power, it would still die to the Death Touch ability, because that's just how Death Touch works. And of course, Trample, we discussed earlier. If you have more power than their toughness, you can deal it directly to a player. And here's our first/double strike. First strike means that a creature will deal its damage before any creature that does not have first strike, or double strike. Double strike means that a creature will deal both first strike damage and normal damage. See, there's essentially two sub-phases of damage dealing. If there's a creature, any creatures with first strike will all deal damage at the same time before any creatures that do not. Double strike counts the same way, because it deals both first strike and normal damage. Once that step is resolved, there will be damage dealt by all creatures who don't have first strike or have double strike, because, again, double strike deals both first strike and normal damage. Alright, so this one starts off kind of weird. It's my opponent's turn. He's going to attack me for 8 with this enormous trample creature. However, I have this monstrous thing with like 7 keywords. Vampire Nighthawk naturally has Flying, Death Touch, and Lifelink. Lifelink means that if it deals damage, I will gain that much life. It's not super relevant for this scenario, but I might as well mention it because we're here. He's also equipped with the Sword of Vengeance. This gives him an additional 2 power, and gives him the abilities Haste, which means he can attack the turn that you put him into play. First Strike, which again lets him deal damage before creatures without First Strike. Vigilance, which means he doesn't have to tap in order to attack, and Trample. Trample again, we've been over it. However, if you'll notice, he has the combination of abilities First Strike and Death Touch. Now that's a really, really obnoxious combination of moves, because that means he deals his damage before the opponent's creature, and kills the opponent's creature just by dealing any damage to it. So yeah, I deal 4 damage to him, and kill him with Death Touch, and he deals no damage to me because of my First Strike. Now it's my turn, and jump right into combat. And since my guy has Vigilance, there's really no reason not to attack. Haha, I totally got you. You only have 1 life, and my guy has 4 power. Oh wait, your creatures all have Reach, and can block mine. Except that I have Death Touch and Trample. Now since it only takes 1 point of damage from a Death Touch creature to kill a creature, it sort of acts as though their toughness is 1 for the purpose of Trample. So I deal 1 damage, 1 damage, 1 damage, and then since my creature has 4 power, I still have 1 point of damage left over from my Trample ability, after killing all of his blockers. Once all of his blockers are dealt with, I'm able to do Trample damage, and I defeat my opponent. Alright, I think that's gonna do it for this installment of the Duels of the Planeswalkers stopgap. Join me next time as I finish off these challenges and go for at least 1 real game. Ooh, exciting stuff!